Cleveland Browns taking on the Miami Dolphins at home. It's already been a tough season. We are going to get into something different here. We've heard last week from Myles Garrett talking about he needed to see a plan to come back. We have another guy, Joel Bitonio, coming back, saying the same thing. I want to see a plan before I make a decision whether I'm going to retire at the end of this year or come back for another year. So you have two of the Browns' main key players saying, I need to see a vision and a plan because we don't believe it right now the way we looking on the football field. I'm going to tell you why in this episode, and I'm going to prove to you the Cleveland Browns have not had a plan for a very long time, and this is Groundhog's Day for these individuals. Every single year, you're reselling the same old stuff. You're selling the same old hope. And I'm going to give you a blast from the past and show you the Cleveland Browns have been saying the same old stuff for 30 years, and you shouldn't believe they got a plan either. We'll talk about that coming up on this episode of The Ultimate Browns. Welcome to the fastest 30 minutes in all of sports. It's your boy G Bush here. We're with the Ultimate Browns. I'm trying out a new camera angle. I usually have the camera angle where it's up close and personal. I want you to see more of my set. I'm planning on doing that as we move forward. Let me know if you guys like this new camera angle in the segment. It's not so close in my face. You get the more of a look to see wherever I'm at in my set. So make sure you let me know if you like that or not. I got a special show coming up for you. It's going to break a little bit of the format. Obviously, the Browns got the Dolphins coming up this week. And right now, the Browns are 3-12. They're playing DTR. They don't have very much to look forward to. They're in cap purgatory with the quarterback position, and we're looking towards draft picks, right? So not much analysis to talk about with this game coming up on Sunday. But what I wanted to do is a lot of people be telling me, G. Bush, you're the Duke and knee jerk. G. Bush, you be saying a lot of stuff, but to be really, really honest with you, man, I'll be right about a lot of stuff. I'm going to bring you up a video, and this video was taken 2 years ago. Now, mind you, Kevin Stefanski has been with the team for 5 years. This is the 5th year. I took this video after his 3rd year in which he had back-to-back losing seasons, right? I took this video and I talked about why all Cleveland Browns coaches and GMs make the same mistakes and why we continually make the same mistakes when it comes to picking our coaches. I'm going to play this video and you tell me if I'm lying. This is from 2 years ago, and the same things that I said 2 years ago are permeating and still part of what the Cleveland Browns are doing today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this video, but let's set it up first. Let's take a look at Joe Bitonio. Joe Bitonio came out and talked about this earlier. He said, listen, I'm a guy that is going to I'm a guy that's going to think about it like Myles Garrett is thinking about it. I want to see what the game plan is, and I want to see what the Cleveland Browns are going to do before I decide whether I'm going to retire or not. This is Joel Bitonio in his comments, and it was courtesy of Mary Kay Cabot on Twitter.
I want to the goal now, like you're in year 11, year 12, like you want to try and win games. Like it's hard to go out there and go have 3 wins right now. Like that's been tough. Like it's tough on your body. Like you just don't feel as good on Monday when you're losing games. So it's part of the process, and you'd love to hear what the plan is, going forward, and kind of see where we're at, see how much winning you can do. I don't know specifically with Joe Thomas, but he was like in the start/middle of a rebuild when he was retiring, and I don't know if that played a factor or if he was just done anyway. But you see that sometimes with guys where it's like, what do they have? Coming back and stuff like that. But that's all stuff I'm going to worry about in the off season. Right now, I got a game to play, and we got to lock in because they have some good players up front.
And that was Joe Bitonio, courtesy of Mary Kay Cabot. She had that interview on her Twitter page, and he talked about it. Hey, when you're trying to play football and your body is sore and you don't know, when your next win is coming, it makes it very difficult for you to go out there and put your maximum effort. He mentioned Joe Thomas, and we've talked about it. Joe Thomas and Myles Garrett have been mentioned in the same ilk because they are Hall of Famers. Myles Garrett will be a Hall of Famer. And so when you're a Hall of Famer like Joe Thomas, who ends your career without even playing the playoff game, and you're Myles Garrett, who you're looking at a rebuild right in your face, he's going to talk to the front office and find out a plan. And he should be. They deserve better than to have to go through a terrible rebuild and continuously do this all over again. And let's take a look at this. Jason Lloyd, last week we talked about this. Myles Garrett, he came out with his comments that was followed by Joe Bitonio, which you just saw. And Jason points it out very eloquently. It isn't about winning games. It's about selling tickets to the new stadium and selling hope until you can get there. This is something we're going to use to springboard into the next video, which is me talking a couple of years ago saying, is it about selling hope or is it about winning? Because every coach did the same thing over and over again. This is Jason Lloyd first.
If they're going to do this dome in 2029, you have to sell hope by 2027. Where is the hope on this current roster? As good as Myles Garrett is, everything he said is 1,000% true. Myles Garrett is not going to sell you PSLs by himself. You know what will? A quarterback. Where are you going to get the quarterback? Is it in this draft? Doesn't look like it. I'm not sure that it is.
That's right. I know what this theory is. Go ahead. Yeah.
I don't know where this quarterback is in this. First of all, they're not even in position to get the top two if they go 1 and 2. I don't think anyone really believes that they're really franchise changers. But you know who's could be coming in 2026?
Arch Manning.
Arch Manning. And who has Jimmy Haslam had a fascination with since he bought the Browns?
Peyton Manning.
The Manning family.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense. You've got to have, for all the things that Myles Garrett is, the one thing he's not is the same thing Joe Thomas was not, and that's a quarterback.
Yeah.
And until you have a quarterback, you aren't going anywhere in the NFL. So if you trade Myles for these picks, and I again, we were going to have this conversation. Myles just expedited things by what he said on Friday. Mm-hmm. We were always going to have this conversation this offseason. If you trade him for multiple ones, now you have the currency to move around the board. You're going to be bad next year. You're going to have a high pick to begin with, but if you're not quite in position, and it's not just Arch.
This isn't the first time we've done this. This isn't our first rodeo. And what I've always posed to people when they say, be patient, bide your time, let people have their, let them get their program off. I say to you, what is the difference between the new bunch of people and the old bunch of people? But sometimes people's attention spans are very slow. They're very low. They're quick to turn the page because we only remember what happened 2 days ago. But there's a great thing called the internet. And when you have the internet, what you can do is you can pull up some old stuff that reminds you that this point that we are in right now, there was another coach and another regime and another general manager doing the same stuff, telling you that it's not about these couple of years, it's about the future. Take a look. This was done by me, yours truly, 2 years ago after Kevin Stefanski's back-to-back losing seasons, right? And did not make it in the playoffs. And let me show you, not only has Kevin Stefanski continued to not make any changes and they sound all the same, let's go back further and look at all the other coaches and their terrible records that we've had. And then at the end, let's take a little lesson about human nature. A lot of times we don't learn from anything. We continually do the same things and we don't learn from anything. And that's just not a knock on ownership. That's a knock on fans. That's a knock on the media because we don't do any critical thinking. You tell me if I'm wrong when I say we've been doing the same stuff for 30 years and never learning. This is courtesy of your boy G. Bush on the barbershop. Put it in the comment section when it's over. Am I not right about some of this? You know I am. So if you look at it, coaching is a fraternity, so to speak. People always ask me, would you ever coach? And I said no. And the reason I would never coach is because there's coaches that don't want to win. The goal is not to win football games. The goal is to stay in the game as long as possible, to be able to make a living and to stay in the game and stay in power, so to speak. They have this thing where they're going to appeal to your calmness. They're going to appeal to your smarter side, appeal to your reasoning. Guys, we can't keep turning it over every year. Guys, the reason we're not winning is because no continuity. You guys are knee-jerk reactions. You got to let it simmer. Let a guy get his program off. and didn't really evaluate it. Now, to most people, that would sound like a sound thing to do. It would seem like you're being an adult and being rational about the situation. But in reality, you just fallen prey to what they've been doing for the last 30 years. And it's always evident because Kevin Stefanski says this.
We didn't do enough as a team. We didn't do enough as coaches. Are the guys playing hard? Of course. Yeah, not questioning that at all. And Jacoby's making plays. But it's we got to clean things up. If you want to get a win in the NFL, you can't do some of the things we did.
But how is that different from any other coaches? Let's see if you could pick out the difference between them, what they're saying. Well, this is the previous coach. This is Freddie Kitchens.
We didn't do a good enough job of matching that intensity. Started the game off well offensively and defensively and didn't maintain it through the second half.
Striking, isn't it? One guy's an Ivy leaguer, one guy's a down-home good old boy, and he just, love football. But the message, the tone, what he's saying is all the same. Thought that was bad. Let's go back and take a look at the guy that took over before him.
Not only anything that went down wrong today, I totally take responsibility for it. Doesn't matter. It's on me. So it doesn't, no need to go into it. I got to do a better job with the offensive unit. Just that simple. It's on me. That's what I'm saying. I'm mad at myself. So nobody else. Period. I'm sorry? It doesn't matter. It's on me. To go round and round about it, I'm not going to do that. Anything that happens with our offensive football team is my responsibility. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Well, hey, I'm taking a fall on everything.
Tough-nosed Mike Pettin.
But overall, we're going to have to regroup from this one quickly and put it behind us, and we're on to the next one. But in all three phases, it was a tough day.
Tough, hard-nosed ball player. But you notice he ain't saying a bunch of nothing in the press conferences either. He got up there and said a bunch of nothing.
When things aren't going well and you have losses like this, the questions come up. You just have to make sure as you question everything that you realize these are the things. This is our core. This is what we're doing well. These are areas we need to improve. You don't want to. If you got something wrong with your heart, you don't want to operate on the brain.
It's not the first tough-nosed guy in the building. Guy before him. Couple guys before him, Eric Mangini. This guy is finding people for water bottles, finding them. Tough. You're going to get on a bus, and you're going to go talk to people that we're going to do a kids camp. We're going to get 90 grown men on a bus. In every press conference, you sit up there saying a bunch of nothing.
This is a group that works hard, that executes game plan. When you have a turnover that goes for a touchdown, and you have another turnover that sets up 3 points, 10-point swing in a game that's decided by a very small margin. And 9 penalties, too many penalties.
I could keep going, but the reality is that is intentional. It's intentional. See, they've mastered the ability to say a bunch of nothing and actually do it in a way where you might think you're actually getting something. Look how professional he is. And one of the things that you talk about with this, and one of the things that you get with this whole process is, well, I accept this responsibility. That's on me. I'll take responsibility for that.
We're going to get this fixed. It's unacceptable. It's not about the effort of the group today. This is like mistakes.
That's not nothing new that's not nothing original by Kevin Stefanski.
We didn't execute it well. I got to give them a better play, and then we got to make it.
Now you got Pat Shermer saying the same thing. Rod Trzynski saying the same thing. You still got Hugh Jackson and a bunch of other dudes saying the same doggone stuff. Pat Shermer, same old doggone stuff. And you ask yourself, is that a coincidence? No. When you accept responsibility for something, responsibility denotes that is something you can control. If I'm responsible for turning my homework in, that means that I can only turn my homework in. My mom can't turn it in. No one else can do it. It's up to me. Responsibility is an individual thing. Accountable means there's some level of authority over you that will have actions if you don't do X, Y, and Z. Notice a lot of these guys talk about responsibility, but never accountability. That is the thing that really hits home when you listen to this. Because what they're doing actually is they're using a linguistic technique in order to deflect by accepting responsibility. Say, for instance, you have a kid, right? You know, he does something bad. When you go to interrogate him and say, what happened? Tell me the truth, what happened? He immediately, before you can even get it out, just says, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You'd be like, but hold on. You sorry for what? You haven't even heard what I'm mad at you about. Well, whatever it is, I'm sorry. He's just saying sorry just to get it out the way. He's just basically saying, hey, I'm sorry. Shut up. Leave me alone.
I'm sorry? It doesn't matter. It's on me. To go round and round about it, I'm not going to do that. Anything that happens with our offensive football team is my responsibility.
Whatever you got to say I'm sorry for, let's just skip the pleasantries. Let's just skip all the when, where, why, whens, what's, and wheres. Let's just skip that and get right to what we're going to get down to.
It's on me. That's what I'm saying. I'm mad at myself. So nobody else. Period. I'm sorry? It doesn't matter. It's on me. To go round and round about it, I'm not going to do that. Anything that happens with our offensive football team is my responsibility. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Well, hey, I'm taking a fall on everything.
And this is the same thing that coaches do. When you ask them questions about why can't you stop the run? Why can't why couldn't you give any pressure on the quarterback? Why do you have these mistakes? Why do you have these things going on consistently throughout your organization? Instead of them reflecting on it, actually thinking about some things and being self-reflective, and then saying, okay, let me go dig through this and figure out what the problem is, and then I can get you an answer. These coaches have just blanketly just started saying, yeah, it's my fault, put that on me, this is my fault, it's on me. Matter of fact, this guy was the king of doing it. So when you are actually accepting the responsibility without examining any self-awareness, you're actively using a deflection technique. Because at the end of the day, it's not about responsibility, it's accountability. We want to know why it happened, give an account why it happened, and how you're going to go about fixing what happened.
Mistakes are made by everyone. But why do we make the same mistakes over and over again?
I lose my cell phone.
I drop my phone everywhere.
I procrastinate.
Spending money on stupid things. Rushing through things.
Just constantly late.
I date the same assholes over and over again.
Oh no!
The question when somebody says, hey coach, you guys can stop the run, what was it about? The answer isn't, well, I looked at the tape. We just weren't good enough up front. We just weren't good. We gotta clean some stuff up.
Being aware of how we've messed up in the past doesn't really seem to help. Our brains don't learn from our past mistakes as much as we might hope. Take, for example, one study that had people look at their past spending before going shopping. Remembering their past mistake, overspending, didn't keep them from doing it all over again.
No. Drill down on that.
So, how do we stop this vicious cycle?
I could have gone for the nice guy, but he didn't have as much swag and he wasn't as cool, right?
Right.
I have all the answers. It's just putting those answers into practice.
Have you ever tried to spend less money?
No.
No, coach, I didn't mean higher level. I meant your defensive tackles are getting blown off the football. You're losing gap contain. You are busting coverages. Why did they bust the coverage? Was it the fact that the signal got in late? Was it the fact that somebody just had a brain fart? Was it the fact that somebody was doing their own thing and thought they were going to make a play? What was it? And how did you systematically go about correcting that in practice?
The problem is your brain wastes so much time trying to figure out what happened. Did something about the world change? Is there something wrong with me? That it distracts you from finding the right answer. How many phones have you gone through?
3 iPhones.
Oh my gosh. Like, where do you usually find it once you find it?
Kitchen counter. Almost always on the kitchen counter. Never where I look first, but it's always right behind it.
If you play the piano and you miss a note and if you're in public, it's a grand mess. I can practice and practice and practice, and it's just like I go and I freeze.
That's what we want to know. They don't care about that, because if they did, we wouldn't have a succession of all of these people that I keep showing here.
And we started the game great, and we carried it on with the opportunities that we had through the first half. All right. And then the second half, they kind of took over the game, and we didn't match it. And then the opportunities had presented themselves for us to take control of the game, and we didn't do it for whatever reason, offensively, defensively, or special teams.
Sounding like here.
We just didn't get it. I can't tell you exactly. I know exactly why. There was a couple situations, getting the right people in the game, getting the play to the quarterback in a timely fashion, and then him calling it properly.
No difference from here.
We've played, whether it's a half, whether it's a quarter, whether it's a couple series or 3 quarters of games, we've played very well at times, and it's a matter of consistently putting it together for 4 quarters, and that's what the mission is that we're on right now.
Same tone as here.
The fourth quarter's been your toughest for your unit. What's different that you're seeing on film between the first 3 quarters and that final quarter?
It's tough. You just, for us, and I do the same thing. I know I say the same thing to you guys every week, but I always go after the game, we do the evaluation, address our goals, talk about what we did well, areas that we need to improve. And it's going to happen every game. It's the NFL, there's going to be problems.
Lack of accountability here.
But for us with that game, like we made adjustments at halftime and we got off the field, I think 12 plays, the first 3 series with a turnover. So you're feeling great about the adjustments you made. Then we got in the fourth quarter and it's just like when the Jets, they came out and they said, we're just chipping everybody and just all the time. Then these guys just said, hey, we're going to run the ball. So I don't know if our adjustments made them do that, but they just said, hey, we're going to run it. And they had success and moved the ball down the field. So I don't know what it is. Probably a little bit of everything. And this is a long answer. It's probably a little bit of everything. But we're just going to continue to address what we're trying to do defensively and do it cleanly.
If you didn't have if it wasn't purposeful, it wouldn't continue to happen, because any smart person would learn from other people's mistakes.
A bear, a wolf, and a fox each catch a deer. The bear turns to the wolf and says, how should we divide up the deer? The wolf said, I think we should each keep the deer we caught. Before the wolf could say another word, the bear ate him. The bear then turned to the fox and said, how should we divide up the deer? The fox turned to the bear and said, I think you should have my deer and take the wolf's deer as well. The bear exclaimed, how did you get such wisdom? The fox said, from the wolf. It was Groucho Marx who said, learn from the mistakes of others. You can never live long enough to make them all yourself.
Actually, I've been doing some reflecting on this. And I've reflected just as long as you guys have.